a show that covers what's going on in the North Shore and provides insight into our local villages and its representatives. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Johnson, and welcome to a new edition of From the Source. This week, I'm happy to have the mayor of the ever-expanding village of North Hills as my special guest. The village of North Hills is one which straddles the Long Island Expressway and the Northern State Parkway. Here to talk about what's going on in this grand village is the mayor of North Hills, Marvin Natiss. Hello, and thank you for coming on to the show.
It's my pleasure, Elizabeth. It really is.
I'm so happy you're here. Tell me a little bit about why you decided to join village government.
Well, when I first moved into the village of North Hills, the then mayor knew I was an attorney. He asked if I would participate in the village. He asked me to be the associate village justice, which I accepted. It was a great honor. And then I became the village justice. And after 10 years, when the mayor passed away, there was a mayor that replaced him from the Board of Trustees. And I was then asked to run for mayor, and that was 16 years ago.
Wow.
So
that's incredible.
Here I am.
And so much has happened within that time.
Absolutely. The village has a major building now at the corner of New Hyde Park Road and the service road of the Expressway. Dealer Track is a public company, occupies the building. We now have a Ritz-Carlton residence, which was built by RXR. And the basic communities are thriving within the village.
Yes, there's a lot of development, and one of the areas that is in your area, which is the Innisfada property. About 5 years ago, it was brought up to market and for sale, and it sold. Can you talk to us a little bit about what happened during that time?
Well, 5 years ago, when it was put on the market, there was basically some opposition from various groups requesting that I declare it a landmark within the village so that it could not be sold. Mm-hmm. I did speak with the Jesuits at that time, and I was asked basically to leave it alone because the important part of it, as I recall, was the chapel, and they were relocating the chapel to Fordham University, mm-hmm. and they needed the $35 million, and obviously the deal went through. The developer then requested cluster housing, which we objected to because we told them they would only be able to build as a matter of right. So if it's in a 2-acre residential zone and they could have one house for each half acre, that was the limit of what they could build. Right. And it was next to Estates 1 and 2 off of Searingtown Road. And those communities we're very concerned about overdeveloping that area. So it stayed just the way the zoning allowed it, and whatever they build as a matter of right.
Right. Now, I understand that property has come up for sale again.
I was told that the property was being marketed for $110 million, which I can't answer why it's on the market. We haven't caused any delay for the developer, and whatever they wanted, and in terms of approval, was expedited, and they needed only a few variances from the village planning board, and that involved only the gatehouse, or they wanted to move it a little closer to the Searingtown Road entrance. Those were all granted. So any delay is not as a result of the village activity, it's a result of the developer delaying. They may have run out of financing, I have no idea, but I was as surprised as anyone else when it was placed on the market for sale.
North Hills happens to span a couple of zip codes. It actually is in 5 areas, which include Manhasset, New Hyde Park, Roslyn,
Correct.
Roslyn Heights, and Albertson. And so it has 2 major roads also intersecting it, and that must be a challenge for you.
Well, when I was first elected 16 years ago, I thought it would be a good idea to consolidate into one North Hills post office, and offered, in fact, the lower level of the village hall. But the Manhasset residents, which had 11530, didn't like the idea. They wanted to keep 11530. Those in the Roslyn zip code liked 11576. And so we actually dropped that idea almost immediately. And so I live with 5 zip codes. And as you said, it involves both sides of the expressway. And as long as the mail gets delivered, I don't have a problem. And I spoke to each of the postmasters at that time to make sure that if it said 11576 or if it said North Hills 11576. See, I always use North Hills 11576. That's my zip code. And as long as it had the zip code, I wanted to be sure the mail was delivered. And they assured me it would be. But if you go to a department store and shop, and you tell them you're in 11576, and you tell them you're in North Hills, automatically Roslyn comes up.
I see.
Because it's the Roslyn post office.
Interesting.
It's confusing, but we can handle it.
So tell me, you had said that there are benefits for having these 2 big major.
Well, one of the benefits is being between the arteries and the South Service Road and the North Service Road and Searingtown Road and Shelter Rock Road. It keeps the village justice court very active and very busy. And so, and that helps the state as well, because whatever funds are collected in terms of fines, part of it goes to the state and part of it goes to the village. So if you want to speed along the South Service Road, be my guest.
I'm sure that Nassau County Police Department is very happy.
And they do a fabulous job.
They do.
And we're situated between the 3rd and the 6th precinct.
I see.
And when they closed down the 6th precinct and just agreed to reopen it, I was very happy with that decision.
Absolutely.
And supported the Nassau County Police and the PBA, and attended several of the press conferences, because I thought it was important to have the 6th precinct reopened, which it will be.
Yes, it's undergoing a little bit of construction right now, but I think most residents are super excited that it's reopened. It was...
Absolutely. The residents that I speak with are all very pleased.
Yeah. So one of the things that is like very important to people is cell phone service. And I know that North Hills has actually been one of the first, I think, to introduce the cell tower, which personally my family calls the big hairbrush. But now we've gone past that, and we're going to 5G service. How is that impacting the village of North Hills?
At this time, we have no impact. Eventually, I think 5G is on its way. Obviously, it's not here yet. And currently, the cell towers within the village service the village residents very well. And when 5G comes, we'll have to address that, because the way the law was written, and I've spoken to Congressman Swazi about it, there's very little we can do as a local municipality. The important thing about a municipality, especially on a village level, is that we should be able to control our own zoning and zoning ordinances. And the way the law was written on a federal level, we have really nothing to say about 5G. So That was of concern to me, but as I say, it might be 1, 2, 3, or 5 years down the road.
So it's not going to impact you immediately.
Not immediately.
I see. Okay. So you've made North Hills the #1 place to live in Nassau County. I've did a little bit of research, and how did you manage that?
Well, we tried to keep it a premier residential community. We have very little commercial property, and the only commercial property we do have is on Community Drive. There are 1 or 2 buildings on Community Drive which are part of North Hills, and we have the Dealer Track building, which is now a brand new. It's a magnificent. We limited the height, so it didn't create a real problem for residents, and it's on the corner of New Hyde Park Road and the South Service Road, and it's a Class A building, so that helped. And Ritz-Carlton residences, which are being built along the South Service Road, that's a premier community concierge service, and whoever moves in there tells me that it's as if they're living in a hotel. So all in all, that plus all of the communities that we have, many of which are gated communities, our residents feel very secure and very comfortable, and it's easy to keep it as a premier residential community. I might also say that the elected and appointed officials under my watch in the past 16 years have never had an increase in their compensation. So you may think about that for a moment. We don't even take CPI. We're happy to serve. We're proud to serve. And it's a way of us giving back to the community.
So actually, thank you for bringing that up. Out of all of the villages that are in the North Shore, is yours the only one that has compensation?
Oh, no, no, no. Many have compensation.
Okay.
But some, the larger villages, not necessarily North Shore, but Freeport and Rockville Center and some of those villages, the town of Hempstead, the village of Hempstead within the town of Hempstead, those are all compensation, and we keep it reasonable. And we, of the 64 villages in Nassau County, still have the lowest tax rate as a village. I can't control school taxes, and I cannot control the general tax. But we do use the county assessed valuation roll.
Right.
And with that assessed valuation roll, the village tax is minimal.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that you, with RXR coming in to build the Ritz-Carlton, they negotiated also some benefits such as a country club. Talk to us about that.
Well, they didn't negotiate a country club. What they did was, we have a community amenities fund. And so when we were interested in having a village golf course within the village. North Hills Country Club is in the village of North Hills. Deepdale Country Club is in the village of North Hills. But we wanted a village course for village residents. And so we actually bid on the Engineers Country Club when it was up for sale.
Oh, okay.
And RXR outbid us, eventually paying less than we originally offered.
Wow.
But they kept the membership for 5 years, and at a very nominal dues structure. And that's when the RXR asked me if I'd be interested in eventually acquiring Engineers Country Club from them if and when they put it up for sale. So in the interim, what they did was they accepted village residents at the same rate or due structure as those existing members that stayed. So it created some benefit for village residents who joined.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know that a number of the residents in the village of North Hills commute into the city. Tell me what you've done to assist those people rather than increase the volume of traffic.
I think we were way ahead of the time because we helped take vehicles off the road. We added a shuttle parking lot, and we entered into a contract with a vendor that ran a shuttle every half hour during the morning hours from 6:30 to 9, and it runs every half hour back and forth to the railroad station, the Long Island Railroad Station on Plandome Road in Manhasset, and it was intended for commuters. And young people who buy within the village have the opportunity to park for free at Village Hall, get on the shuttle, and the shuttle runs again in the evening from 4 o'clock on, again every half hour during the rush hour or commuter hours, as we put it. And the usage has increased tremendously. We analyze it at every Board of Trustees meeting once a month. We analyze the volume of usage from the month a year before.
Okay.
And we do that every month, and it consistently increases. So we had some room to expand the village shuttle parking lot, and still we are now running out of space. So we had to have a sign made that says shuttle lot full. Our maintenance man comes out, turns the sign around that says shuttle lot full, and those overflow park in the regular village parking lot. So we're now looking into a possibility of even expanding the shuttle lot, and that's presently under discussion with my board.
Now, who really takes advantage of that? Is it all these different areas from?
They're all welcome. As long as you're a village resident, you can come park for free and use the shuttle service for free. And when we have a community amenities fund, that's what funds it, because we don't need a grant. I know the state and the federal government offer grants, but we haven't taken any grants because the interest income from our community amenities fund is enough to fund that shuttle service.
Oh, that's interesting. So tell me, what are the challenges that you face coming up in 2019, 2020?
Challenges in terms of the village, or just challenges in terms of nationally? Because
we'll talk about the village.
The village, I think we're in good shape. I'd like to see I'd like to see some finalization to the Innisfada property. I'd like to know whether it's going to be built either by the current developer or whoever purchases it will continue to develop it. They may sell it because all of the plans, the site plans have been approved, and whatever variances they need have been granted. So it's a complete package. If they decide to build it, they'll build it. If they decide to sell it, whoever buys it, we'd like to see it developed so that we know it's taken care of once and for all. And that will also increase our tax base.
Of course, of course. Now, originally, I think that the approval was for 51 houses there?
No, my recollection, it was for 44 or 45.
Okay, okay. And that is still on a half an acre each, is that correct?
Yes.
Was there also supposed to be like a common structure?
Yes, there will be the clubhouse, whatever was on the site plan has been approved. So that is all basically applied for, and the site plan probably, as I said, was approved, and we're just waiting to see what happens with the current developer.
The original plans that I remember from a number of years ago approved in the vicinity of 40 some odd houses, and probably, I would assume, a clubhouse.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, has any work or like road work or anything been done other than raising the actual building?
I have not been on the site, but I know that nothing has been done yet because they haven't applied for any permits yet.
Okay.
So that's how when the permits are applied for, that's when I know.
That's what you know. So right inside of North Hills, you have the jewel of Christopher Morley Park there. It hasn't been updated in a while, and now I understand Laura Curran is focusing some attention there and making it a better place. How do you feel that's going to impact North Hills?
I would be very happy about that. It is a county facility.
Right.
And it's therefore the county's responsibility. But for those of my residents that reside on the north side of the expressway, it would be wonderful to have it updated. It has a 9-hole golf course, par 3. And I do know I have village residents that utilize it. And so if they do some improving there, it will be a great benefit for the village of North Hills.
I remember being a youngster and going there, and they had the platform, that high dive platform, which everyone wanted to jump off.
Well, when I first moved into Searingtown, I used to play basketball there.
Yeah.
And those days are a long time ago.
But I understand that those courts get quite a bit of business, and a lot of local celebrities go there to play pickup games, which I was kind of amazed. And when Adam Sandler was here filming, he went there to play with the boys, and he was quite a good player too.
I'm having dinner with some friends much younger than I am in the next few days, and he always tells my wife that he was one of the guys who called for me when I lived in Searingtown to say, can I come out and play with the boys? So I know how Adam Sandler must feel about playing with the boys.
Absolutely.
It's great.
So where did you grow up? I'm curious.
I grew up in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And I went to Eastern District High School. I graduated from Eastern District when I was 16 years old, and I went to Brooklyn College, have an accounting degree from Brooklyn College. And while I was working as an accountant, I went to Brooklyn Law School in the evenings. And as soon as I finished law school, I took the bar exam, and I've been admitted since.
And what law do you practice?
I have a general practice, but primarily transactional work.
Okay. What does that mean? Like wills and
No, that would be estates and trusts. My daughter, who's my law partner.
Oh, nice. Keep it in the family.
Yes, handles it. Well, my other daughter is also a lawyer, but she lives in Florida. And her husband's a lawyer, so when they were married, and his father was a lawyer, so I remember being told this looks like a merger rather than a wedding. So,
oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and transactional work involves buying and selling businesses, companies. I represent some, well, I could give them a plug. I represent the Pohl brothers for probably 40 years, and they own Bryan and Cooper and Henrik's Tavern and Toku and Cipollini. So that's the kind of work I do.
Oh, that's great, because I love those restaurants. They're amazing. And
yes, they are. They really have a great formula. And the new one out on 110 called The Bryant is also fabulous.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very good. So, for the future, where do you see North Hills?
If I can keep North Hills as a premier residential community, and there's really very little land left to build on, and there's certainly no commercial property available, it will stay a residential community. And if I can keep it as a premier residential community with the low village tax that we have, and the efficiency that we have, because I have a wonderful staff at Village Hall. They've been together and they work very well together. And I'd like to see that continue so that North Hills will remain. Somebody sent me a note that we were listed somewhere as one of the premier #1 residential communities, whether it's in the state or the county or whatever. The bottom line is that's what I want to keep.
And you're doing a good job at it.
Thank you.
So tell me why people want to stay there. I mean, and you have a very loyal group of trustees also.
Yes, I'm very proud of my trustees, and they are loyal and they are very conscientious, and they do a great job. I could mention their name. Deputy Mayor Scambati has been my deputy mayor for 16 years, and Trustee Lentini and Elliot Arnold and Gail Cohen have been trustees also for a long period of time, probably almost the 16 years that I've been involved.
That's amazing. You know, that's quite staying power, and it says something about the leadership.
Well, it may not be just the leadership. I think it's the residents that are happy and they're pleased, and they're pleased with the job that we're doing, and that's why I think it's important to continue to do what we're doing.
Thank you for coming on the show today. It was wonderful having you as my guest. That's all we have for today. Thank you for watching From the Source. Stay tuned for more in-depth interviews with members of your community.